Hi, grade 10s. You haven't seen my face in a while, so this is where I'm going to take over from Mr. Redman. And we're going to start doing something fun in Excel, something very different from what you've been working on for the past 2 weeks. But before we carry on, if you have not watched any of the videos that Mr. Redman has already posted, you need to stop right here. You need to go back. You need to watch all those videos, get yourself comfortable with using the various functions of Excel, and then come back to this video because you are going to sort of fiddle and fumble over things if you have not already done that. All right, so stop here, go back, and then come back to this lesson when you are ready. Okay, so back to this lesson, and we are going to start looking at charts. Charts is another word for graphs. So bar graphs, line graphs, those kinds of things, and those are two of the three types that we are going to look at today. The reason why I enjoy using graphs or charts in Excel is that it makes my job very easy when it comes to sort of creating these graphics and then using them across the Microsoft suite. What I mean is that I can copy those charts that I create in Excel and use them both in Microsoft Word to represent information in a report that I have to do, for example, or I can copy them into PowerPoint and use it in a presentation by showing people or presenting to people the data that I found graphically without having to give them lots and lots and lots of words to read or lots of numbers to sort of figure out. So that's what I love about Excel and using graphs or charts. Okay, what is important for you to know is the three types that we're going to look at. These are the three that we're going to cover in grade 10, as well as you need to know the definitions of those charts because it gives us a good idea of what kind of information you can use in those and when to use those specific charts, because when it comes to you doing your practicals, you need to be able to make an informed decision on what type of graph you're going to use to represent the various information that you're going to be given, both in practicals and then in your big research project that we are going to work on in term 3 and 4. Okay, so that being said, we're going to cover three types today. The first one, if you look on your screen, is called a column chart, or in our everyday language, a bar chart or a bar graph. Okay, and what we use a bar graph for generally is to look at how values differ. It's bigger, where it's smaller, or where it's more or less. Okay, and so looking at this chart, the first one on your left hand side is called a 2D clustered column chart. Big fancy name, but it is a 2D column or bar graph. And on the right hand side, we can see it's a 3D column, 3D because if we zoom in, you can see that we can see more than you can see that we can see there. Three different sides or three angles of that bar, which I think is pretty cool. Okay. The nice thing about a bar graph is you can pick up on the information immediately by looking at the picture. So, for example, we can see that this learner, this graph is representing the marks of this learner for term 1 and 2. We can see which subjects they have done particularly better in term 2 than in term 1. So English, for example, but in Afrikaans, term 2's marks dropped lower than term 1, and in CAT, they've done considerably better in term 2. So it gives us a quick example without even having to figure out the numbers. Okay, down here at the bottom, these are terminologies or terms that we need to know when it comes to creating charts, and we'll touch on that as soon as we start creating our very first chart, which we'll do in the next couple of minutes. Okay, the second type of chart we're going to do is a line chart. Line chart obviously shows us a trend in how values have either increased or decreased. And this particular graph shows us the value of shares and how shares have differed over a certain period of time. And we can see from looking at this line immediately that this amount of shares has dropped considerably, but now it's starting to increase again close to the end of that period. Okay, what the numbers are, we don't have to know immediately, but the line already shows us that there's been a steady decrease and now there's been an increase or an incline in the cost of those shares. Okay, and then there is a pie chart. And a pie chart, I know, is probably one of the most difficult things to do in maths or to actually physically draw, but it's so much nicer to work in Excel. And what Excel does is to work out the pie chart, it shows us what amount of each item contributes to this whole thing. Okay, so if we were taking votes for something, that's cool, and the votes were for a particular person, in this case, it was for somebody named Travis Smith, and we worked out how many votes he got. Out of all the votes that he got, percentage-wise, we worked out how much percent came from each grade. So looking at that, we'll notice that Travis Smith is very popular with the grade 10s, And then after that with the grade 11s, the grade 8s not so much, maybe they don't know him very well. So that gives us a nice idea of breaking up percentages. We can also manipulate that information to show us the exact number of votes, not necessarily the percentage of votes. We will look at that in the next video. Okay, so let's get right into this now. First thing we're going to do is you need to have information in your worksheet. Okay, so this current worksheet is number of players that play hockey and play netball, and they've been broken down into grades. So how many in grade 10, how many in grade 11, and how many in grade 12. And we are going to create a very simple chart to represent this information, and we are going to compare the two by looking at creating a 2D one. We're going to start very simple, a 2D bar chart or column chart. Okay, what we're going to do is you're going to have to start using your tabs up in the top, and the tab you're going to use is the insert tab. Okay, so if we click on insert tab, you'll see there's a couple of options that we have. And the groupings, tables, add-ins, and charts. That's the one we're looking for. Okay, how do we do this? We first have to select the information that we want to be represented in the chart. So I want to so the grades and the numbers and the sports that they play. Right, so I'm going to click on the cell there because that's where I'm going to start. Okay, and I'm going to highlight across the rows to highlight hockey and netball, and down the grades and the amounts of the learners that play that sport. Once that has been highlighted, we go to insert. If your insert tab is already not selected, you go up to charts. You can see here's recommended charts. The first one up here, if we hover, is your insert column or bar chart. You go next to it, you'll see there an insert something called a hierarchy chart. You also get one called a waterfall chart or a funnel chart. So there's some weird ones here. Right, here's our line chart or our area chart, which we spoke about earlier, and right below that is our pie chart. Okay, we're going to create a column chart. Okay, and if you look at the little arrow there, like I always show you, it gives you a drop-down menu. Okay, we're going to do a 2D cluster column chart. Not sure? If you hover a little bit, you'll see that it gives you the name of each chart. Okay, and it's already starting to show some previews. Okay, so we're going to use this chart to compare values. It even gives us some good idea of what we're going to use. So we're going to go 2D column chart. And as you can see, it now gives me a really cool chart. Right? So our chart shows us grade 10 hockey players are 25. So in grade 10, the blue is hockey, your red is netball, and this is what we call a legend. There's our first term we're going to look at. Okay. Legend is a key or sort of a guideline, and it gives us some information on what each box is representing. Okay, so if we look at all the blue boxes, according to our legend, all the blue boxes represent hockey. And if we look at our legend again, it will indicate that all the red boxes indicates netball, right? So that is our legend. It's our key. It gives us a guide as to what we are reading. Okay, simple enough, right? So let's do it again. I'm going to delete that chart, delete the whole chart. Let's do that again. Okay, we highlight the information that we want to use. Okay, so I want all of that, grades, and the number that play hockey, and the number that play netball. Okay, we then go to the insert tab up on the top. We look for our charts group. Here we go. I'm looking for a bar graph or a column graph. I'm going to keep it quite simple. So I'm going to go clustered column, and I'm going to click on it, and it's going to give us our chart. You got it? Okay, then I showed you the legend over here. All right, so that's legend to explain to us what each bar or what each little image or information represents. Okay, up here we get something called your title, and we can change the title of that. Okay, then we call these values. So these are your series, these we call series. And if you hover on it, you'll see that it gives you a number, it gives you a name, and where it belongs. So if we hover over the blue, for example, you'll see it's a series. That series represents hockey, and point. The point is for grade 10s, and the value is 25, which is exactly how many grade 10s play hockey. Okay, this we call our vertical axis. Obviously, was working up and down our chart. This is our horizontal axis, what works left or right across horizontally. Title we've already touched on. These we call our series. Okay, so series, we've got your title, and we've done your vertical axis, your horizontal axis. We've looked at the legend already, and then the last one is your grid lines. And if you look at the back of this chart, you'll see very faint gray lines that guide your eye to see the amounts of what these graphs are presenting to us. Those are called your grid lines. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there. Go over this again, pick up what your title is, what we call series, your two axes, your vertical and your horizontal, what your legend is, and what your grid lines are. And in the next video, we're going to start to look at how